She's a beast queen. She's holding my hand and I can't escape the bed. She wants my companion. Captain Sarah Chen felt her stomach drop as the ship's alarms screamed around her. Red lights flashed in the small cockpit and sparks flew from the control panel. Arya, what's our status? She called out to her AI companion. The blue hologram of Arya appeared next to her. The AI looked like a young woman with glowing eyes. Captain, our engines are failing. The asteroid field damaged our power core. We need to make an emergency landing. Sarah looked at the planet below them. It was covered in green forests and purple mountains. She had never seen this world before. Is it safe to land there? Sarah asked. Arya's face showed worry. My scans show intelligent life. The planet is called Kithara Prime. It belongs to the Kithari species. They are dangerous. More dangerous than dying in space, Sarah said as she grabbed the ship's controls. Point taken. Captain, the small exploration ship fell through the planet's atmosphere like a burning meteor. Sarah fought with the controls as trees rushed toward them with a loud crash. They hit the ground and slid through the forest, breaking branches and leaving a long trail of dirt behind them. When everything stopped moving, Sarah's head was spinning. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. She looked around the broken cockpit. Arya, are you okay? The hologram flickered and came back. My systems are damaged but working, Captain. We have company. Through the cracked window, Sarah saw them coming through the trees. They were tall, almost 7 feet high. Their bodies looked human, but they had cat-like faces with golden fur. Sharp teeth showed when they opened their mouths. Their eyes glowed green in the dark forest. They wore metal armor that looked both beautiful and deadly. Kithari warriors. Arya whispered, "They found us fast." Sarah reached for her weapon, but her arm was hurt. Before she could do anything, the Kithari soldiers surrounded the ship. One of them, bigger than the others, ripped the door off like it was made of paper. Human. The soldier said in broken English, "You come." Now, Sarah had no choice. With Arya's hologram following her, she stepped out of the broken ship. The Kithari soldiers made a circle around her. They did not look friendly. The journey through the forest took 2 hours. Sarah's legs were tired, and her hurt arm made everything worse. The Kithari city appeared suddenly through the trees. It was amazing. Tall buildings grew from giant trees, like they were part of the forest. Bridges made of living wood connected the structures. Everything glowed with soft, natural light. It's beautiful, Sarah said quietly. And heavily defended, Arya added, scanning their surroundings. I count hundreds of warriors. The Kithari people stopped their work to stare at Sarah as the soldiers led her through the city. She had never seen aliens like these before. Their fur came in many colors: gold, silver, black, and brown. Some had stripes, others had spots. All of them had those glowing green eyes. Children hid behind their parents, looking at Sarah with curiosity and fear. Market sellers whispered to each other. Sarah felt like a strange animal in a zoo. Finally, they reached the biggest tree in the center of the city. It was so large that Sarah could not see the top. A palace was built into its trunk, with walls made of smooth white wood that seemed to glow from inside. The soldiers led her through halls filled with beautiful art and weapons. Everything was bigger than human size. Sarah felt very small. They stopped at 2 huge doors, covered in gold and metal. The doors opened by themselves, and Sarah was pushed inside. The throne room was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into shadows above. The walls were covered with paintings of Kithari warriors in battle. At the far end of the room, on a throne, made from what looked like crystal and bone, sat the most frightening creature Sarah had ever seen. Queen Vextara was larger than her soldiers, with black fur marked by silver stripes. Her green eyes seemed to glow with inner fire. She wore a crown made of metal and jewels that looked like small stars. When she smiled, her teeth were like white daggers. So, the queen said, her voice deep and powerful, a human falls from the sky. Sarah tried to stand straight despite her injuries. Your Majesty, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Exploration Fleet. My ship crashed here by accident. I request safe passage to leave your world. The queen laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Request? You crash land on my world, bring strange magic. She pointed at Arya. And you think you can just leave? My companion is not magic. She is artificial intelligence. Technology. Queen Vextara stood up from her throne. She was even more frightening standing up. Technology that my wise ones say is more advanced than anything we have seen. You will stay. Little human. I cannot stay. My people will look for me. The queen walked down from her throne. Each step echoed in the huge room. When she reached Sarah, she towered over her. In Kithri culture, the queen said, when strangers bring gifts to our world, they must share in our hospitality. You will stay in my royal chambers until the next full moon. This is a great honor. Before Sarah could protest, Queen Vextara reached out and grabbed Sarah's hand. Her grip was strong but not painful. The queen spoke words in her own language that sounded like singing and growling at the same time. The other Kithri in the room bowed low. What did you just do? Sarah asked. I have declared you my honored guest. You will sleep in the chamber next to mine. You will eat at my table. You will not leave this palace. Sarah felt her heart sink. This was not hospitality. This was prison. With better decorations and your metal companion, the queen continued, staring at Arya. She will help my wise ones understand her magic. Arya is not your property, Sarah said firmly. The queen's eyes flashed dangerously. Everything on my world belongs to me. Little human, you would do well to remember that. As guards led her away, Sarah realized she was trapped. The Beast Queen had made her a prisoner, and there seemed to be no way to escape. Sarah woke up in a room that was bigger than her entire ship. The bed was soft but strange, made from materials she had never seen before. The walls were covered in beautiful patterns that seemed to move in the morning light. Arya, she called softly. The AI appeared next to the bed, but her image was weaker than before. I'm here, Captain, but my power is limited. The Kithri have put some kind of barrier around this room. Sarah sat up and looked around. There were no visible doors, but she remembered being brought through a wall that opened like magic. The room had everything she might need: clothes, food, even books written in strange symbols. How long was I sleeping? 14 hours. Your body needed rest after the crash. A section of the wall suddenly opened, and a young Kithri female entered. She had golden fur with brown spots and moved very quietly. She carried a tray of food. That smelled amazing. Good morning, honored guest, the servant said in careful English. I am Zira. Queen Vextara sends food and new clothes. Sarah noticed that Zira kept her eyes down and moved very carefully. Thank you, Zira. Can you tell me how to leave this room? Zira looked frightened. Oh no, honored guest, only Queen allows leaving. You must wait for her call. After Zira left, Sarah tried to find a way out. She pushed on the walls where the door had been, but nothing happened. The room was a beautiful prison. Hours passed. Sarah ate the strange but delicious food and tried on the new clothes. They were made for someone larger, but they fit well enough. The material was soft and seemed to change color in different light. Arya, can you skin this room? Yes, but slowly. The barriers are blocking most of my functions, Captain. I found something interesting. This room has many hidden sensors. They are watching everything we do. Before Sarah could answer, the wall opened again. This time, Queen Vextara entered. She had to duck slightly to fit through the opening. In the daylight, she looked even more impressive and dangerous. Human Sarah, the queen said, sitting down on a chair that was too big for Sarah. Did you sleep well as anyone can in a prison? The queen's eyes flashed. Prison? You insult me in my hospitality. This is the guest chamber of the royal palace. Many important visitors would kill for this honor. Sarah realized she had made a mistake. I apologize, Your Majesty. I'm not familiar with your customs. The queen's expression softened slightly. That is why you must learn. In Kithri culture, when someone of importance stays in the royal chambers, they share the same sleeping area as the host. It shows trust and respect. Sarah felt confused. Sleeping area. Tonight, you will sleep in my chambers. It is tradition. To refuse would insult my entire bloodline. Sarah's heart started beating faster. Your Majesty, in human culture, sharing sleeping spaces means something very different. I cannot, you will, the Queen said firmly. But do not worry, little human. Kithri honor is sacred. You will be safe. It is about trust, not other things. Arya flickered and spoke quietly to Sarah. Captain, I believe this is a cultural test. Refusing might cause serious problems. Queen Vextara noticed Arya, and her expression became very interested. Your metal companion speaks wisdom. Tell me, artificial one, how do you think without flesh? I process information using quantum processors and neural networks, Arya explained. My consciousness is based on complex algorithms. The Queen leaned forward. Fascinating. My wise ones believe consciousness comes from the soul. Yet you seem to have thoughts and feelings. Do you have a soul? I do not know, Your Majesty. That is a question even humans cannot answer about themselves. For the first time, Queen Vextara smiled without showing her dangerous teeth. Wise words. I think you and my wise ones will have much to discuss. That evening, Sarah found herself in the Queen's private chambers. The room was enormous, with a large sleeping area covered in soft furs and fabrics. Weapons hung on the walls along with paintings of Kithri history. Queen Vextara had changed from her royal clothes into simpler garments. She still looked powerful, but less frightening. You are afraid, the Queen observed as Sarah stood near the entrance. I am careful, Sarah corrected. In my position, caution keeps me alive. Smart. Fear without wisdom is useless. Wisdom without courage is also useless. You have both. The Queen pointed to one side of the large bed. You sleep there. I sleep here. There is enough space for 10 humans. As they settled down for the night, the Queen spoke in the darkness. Tell me about your people, Sarah Chen. Are all humans as brave as you? Sarah thought carefully before answering. We have brave people and cowardly people, just like any species. But humans are good at adapting. We survive by changing when we need to. My scouts report that human ships have been seen in nearby systems. Are you explorers or conquerors? Explorers. We want to learn about the universe and meet new civilizations. And if those civilizations do not want to be met, then we leave them alone. The Queen was quiet for a long time. Then she said, My wise ones tell me that dangerous times are coming. The stars themselves are in danger. Perhaps it is good that humans have come to this part of space. Sarah wanted to ask what she meant, but the Queen's breathing had become deep and regular. She was asleep. The next morning, Sarah woke to find the Queen already gone. Sarah brought breakfast and a message. Queen Vextara says you have passed the first test of trust, Sarah explained. Today, you will meet with the wise ones. They want to speak with your metal companion. Sarah felt worried. What kind of meeting? They want to understand her magic. The Queen has ordered that no harm comes to either of you, but the wise ones can be intense. As Arya prepared for the meeting, she spoke quietly to Sarah. Captain, I've been analyzing the energy patterns in this palace. There's something they're not telling us. This isn't just about hospitality or curiosity. What do you mean? I detect signs of advanced technology throughout the city, but also evidence of recent damage. I think they're preparing for something big, something dangerous. Sarah looked out the window at the beautiful alien city. What were the Kithri hiding? And why did they really want her and Arya to stay? The answers would have to wait. Guards arrived to escort them to the wise ones. And Sarah knew this next test would be even more dangerous than sharing the Queen's chambers. The guards led Sarah and Arya through corridors filled with ancient artwork. The paintings showed Kithri warriors fighting strange creatures made of light and shadow. Sarah noticed that in every picture, the Kithri looked afraid. Captain, Arya whispered, these images show battles against energy-based life forms, very dangerous ones. They entered a circular room at the top of the great tree. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to glow and move. 5 elderly Kithri sat in a circle. They're gray with age, but their green eyes still sharp and bright. Welcome, Sky-Fallen One, said the eldest wise one. His voice was deep and cracked like old wood. I am Elder Thane, We have many questions for you. And your metal spirit. Queen Vexstar was already there, sitting on a smaller throne. She watched Sarah carefully as the wise ones began their examination. Tell us, said another elder with silver fur. How does your people fight enemies made of pure energy? Sarah looked confused. We don't have enemies like that. Most of our conflicts are with other physical beings. The elders looked at each other with worry. Elder Thane leaned forward. Show us your problem-solving methods. We have a test. He clapped his hands. And the floor in the center of the room opened up. A complex puzzle made of crystal and metal rose from below. It had dozens of moving parts, each glowing with different colors. This is the mind maze of ancestors, Elder Thane explained, for 300 years. Our wisest minds have tried to solve it. The legend says only one who thinks like the ancient heroes can find the answer. Sarah walked around the puzzle. Studying it, the pieces moved in patterns, but she could not see the logic behind them. What happens if someone solves it? She asked. The ancient knowledge will be revealed. Queen Vexstar said, knowledge we need to save our people. Arya scanned the puzzle. Captain, this is incredibly complex. The mathematical possibilities are almost infinite. Even I would need days to calculate all the combinations. Sarah smiled. But we're not going to calculate, are we, Arya? What do you mean? Human thinking isn't always about math and logic. Sometimes we have to feel our way through problems. Sarah closed her eyes and put her hands on the puzzle. Instead of trying to understand the pattern, she let her mind relax. She began moving pieces randomly, following her instincts rather than logic. The elders whispered to each other. What is she doing? There is no plan in her movements. But Sarah wasn't listening to them. She was listening to something else, the way the crystal hummed when pieces were in the right position, the way some combinations felt warm while others felt cold. Arya, can you feel the energy patterns in this thing? Yes, but they seem random. They're not random. They're emotional. This isn't a logic puzzle. It's an empathy test. Sarah began to understand. The ancient Kithari who built this puzzle weren't testing intelligence. They were testing the ability to understand feelings and connections that couldn't be measured. She started moving pieces based on how they made her feel. Pieces that felt lonely, she moved closer to others. Pieces that felt angry, she gave space. Pieces that felt sad, she surrounded with gentle, calm pieces. Slowly, the puzzle began to respond. Colors became brighter. The humming grew louder and more musical. The elders stood up in amazement. Impossible, Elder Thane whispered. With a final click, Sarah placed the last piece. The entire puzzle exploded with light, and the walls of the room lit up with new symbols and images. The new pictures showed the history that the Kithari had forgotten. Long ago, their ancestors had fought creatures called void feeders, beings made of pure energy that ate the life force of entire worlds. The ancient Kithari had defeated them not through strength or technology, but through unity and understanding. The old ways, Queen Vexstar breathed. We had forgotten the old ways. Elder Thane approached Sarah with new respect. Human Sarah, you have done what none of us could do. You solved the puzzle not with your mind, but with your heart. But why was this important? Sarah asked. The queen stood up, her expression grave. Because the void feeders are returning. Our scouts have detected them at the edge of our star system. They will be here within days. Sarah felt her blood run cold. Creatures that eat energy? That's why you wanted Arya. You think human technology can help. More than that, the queen said. The ancient texts speak of allies who think differently, who solve problems in ways we cannot understand. We believe humans are those allies. Arya's image flickered with concern. Captain, I've been analyzing their defensive systems while we've been here. They have a serious problem. What kind of problem? Their entire defense network is based on energy shields and plasma weapons. Against creatures that eat energy, these defenses would actually make the enemy stronger. The elders looked horrified as Arya explained her findings. Their greatest weapons would be useless against the coming threat, but humans think differently. Queen Vexstar said with growing hope, your ship uses different technology, chemical fuel, physical materials. The void feeders cannot eat that. Sarah began to understand why she was really here. You don't just want my help. You need human thinking to survive. Yes, the Queen admitted. But now that you have proven your worth, you are too valuable to let go. You will stay here and help us prepare for war. Sarah felt the trap closing around her again. By solving the puzzle, she had made herself indispensable. The Queen would never let her leave now. Your Majesty, Sarah said carefully, if you want human help, you need to understand something about humans. We work best when we choose to help, not when we're forced. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening to refuse help against extinction? I'm saying that trust works both ways. You want me to help save your people, but you won't trust me enough to let me contact my own people. Queen Vextara considered this. Round them, the elders waited nervously. Outside, the void feeders grew closer with each passing hour. Finally, the Queen spoke. You have 3 days to prove that human methods can work against the void feeders. If you succeed, I will consider your freedom. If you fail, she didn't need to finish the sentence. Sarah understood. She had 3 days to save an entire civilization, and her own life depended on succeeding. As the meeting ended, Arya spoke quietly to her. Captain, I think I know how to fight these creatures, but it's going to require something very dangerous. More dangerous than what we're already facing. Much more dangerous. We're going to have to teach the Kithari to fight like humans. Sarah barely had time to sleep before the alarm started screaming throughout the palace. She jumped out of bed as red lights flashed outside her window. In the distance, she could see Kithari warriors running through the streets. Arya, what's happening? The AI appeared, her image more solid than before. Captain, the void feeders have arrived early. They're already attacking the outer defense stations. Through the window, Sarah could see strange lights in the sky. They moved like liquid fire, flowing from one point to another without following any pattern, even from far away. They looked terrifying. The door burst open, and Queen Vextara entered. She was wearing full battle armor and carrying weapons that glowed with energy. Her face was filled with worry and anger. Human Sarah, your 3 days have become 3 hours. My people are dying, and our weapons cannot touch these creatures. What exactly are the void feeders doing? Sarah asked as she quickly put on her clothes. They absorb our energy shields like food. Every time we shoot at them, they grow stronger. My warriors are helpless. Arya flickered and spoke urgently. Captain, I've been analyzing the attack patterns. The void feeders are pure energy beings, but they follow very predictable behavior patterns. They move in mathematical formations and attack in organized waves. Sarah's mind started working. Predictable patterns. That's their weakness. How can patterns be weakness? The Queen demanded. Because humans are very good at being unpredictable. Arya, tell them your plan. Arya's image turned to face the Queen. Your Majesty, Kithari military tactics are based on order, discipline, and logical formations. This makes your forces easy for the void feeders to predict and counter. You want us to fight without order. That is madness. No, Sarah said. Understanding Arya's plan, you want to fight like humans. We don't always follow rules in combat. We improvise. We change plans in the middle of battle. We do things that don't make sense. The Queen looked confused. How does confusion help win battles? Before Sarah could answer, a warrior burst into the room. His armor was burned, and he looked terrified. My Queen, the eastern defense line has fallen. The creatures are moving toward the city. Our commanders request orders. Queen Vextara started to give traditional military commands, but Sarah interrupted her. Your Majesty, with respect, traditional orders won't work. May I suggest something different? The Queen looked at Sarah for a long moment. Outside, explosions lit up the sky as more defense stations fell. Speak quickly. Tell your commanders to stop following standard tactics. Tell them to be creative, to change their plans every few minutes, to do things that surprise even themselves. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. It is, Sarah admitted, but disasters are hard to predict, and these creatures need to predict their targets to feed on them effectively. The Queen hesitated, then turned to her warrior. Send word to all commanders. Abandon formation fighting. Tell them to be creative. The warrior looked shocked but obeyed. As reports came in over the next hour, something strange began to happen. The Void Feeders' advance slowed down. They seemed confused by the Kithari forces that no longer followed predictable patterns. It's working, Arya reported. The creatures are having trouble targeting chaotic movements. But we need more than just tactics. We need weapons that can actually hurt them. Sarah thought hard. What do we know about the ancient Kithari who defeated these things before? Elder Thane, who had been silent in the corner, spoke up. The legends say they used the power of the Unchanged against the Void Feeders. Unchanged? Sarah asked. Physical matter. Solid things. The old texts speak of weapons made from dead metal and cold stone. Sarah's eyes lit up. Arya, can the Kithari make non-energy weapons quickly? They have the materials. But it would take days to manufacture enough weapons for their army. What about my ship? Sarah asked suddenly. What about it, Captain? It's full of human technology, chemical explosives, metal projectiles, physical weapons. Things that don't use energy the Void Feeders can eat. Queen Vexstar stared at her. You would give us your ship's weapons to save my people. I would give you more than that. I would teach your people how to use them. For the first time since Sarah had met her, the Queen looked truly surprised. You would trust us with human military technology? If we're going to work together to survive, we need to actually trust each other. The Queen was quiet for a moment. Then she did something unexpected. She reached over and cut the energy restraints that had been keeping Sarah confined to the palace. Human Sarah, I release you from your honored guest status. You are now a free ally of the Kithari people. Will you help us? Sarah rubbed her wrists where the restraints had been. Yes, Your Majesty. But we need to move fast. The next few hours were chaos in the best possible way. Sarah and Arya worked with Kithari engineers to modify human weapons for alien use. They created simple projectile weapons using salvage materials from her ship. Meanwhile, Queen Vexstar personally led missions to distribute the new weapons and teach her warriors human-style combat tactics. Remember, Sarah told groups of confused Kithari soldiers, don't think too much. Trust your instincts. Change your plans. Do things that surprise you. It was the strangest military training session in galactic history. As night fell, the Void Feeders launched their main attack on the city. This time, they faced something they had never encountered before, an enemy that fought with unpredictable chaos and weapons that couldn't be absorbed. The battle was fierce and confusing. Kithari warriors charged in random directions, fired unpredictable volleys, and changed tactics every few minutes. The Void Feeders, used to feeding on organized energy patterns, found themselves starving and vulnerable. It's working, Arya reported as Sarah and the Queen watched from the palace command center. The creatures are retreating from the city center, but their celebration was interrupted by a new alarm. My Queen, a warrior reported, our scouts have detected something new. A massive Void Feeder, 10 times larger than the others, is approaching. From the north, it appears to be their leader. Through the window, they could see it coming. It was like a star made of hungry darkness, consuming everything in its path. Our small weapons won't work against something that size, Arya said quietly. Queen Vexstar turned to Sarah. Human ally, do you have any more impossible ideas? Sarah looked at the approaching creature and smiled grimly. Actually, yes, but you're really not going to like it. The giant Void Feeder moved toward the city like a nightmare made of hungry starlight. It was so large that it blocked out the moon, and everywhere it passed, the energy from streetlights and buildings disappeared into its dark center. What is your impossible idea? Queen Vexstar asked as explosions shook the palace. Sarah pointed at Arya. We're going to feed it something it can't digest. I don't understand. Arya, can you overload your own systems? Create a feedback loop that would be like poison to an energy creature? Arya's image flickered with concern. Captain, that would destroy me completely. There would be no way to bring me back. Sarah felt her heart break a little. Arya had been her companion for 3 years. But looking at the approaching monster and the terrified Kithari people, She knew what had to be done. Arya, the choice is yours. I won't order you to sacrifice yourself. The AI was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled sadly. Captain, I have calculated that this plan has a 73% chance of success. Those are acceptable odds to save millions of lives. Queen Vexstar looked between them, beginning to understand. Your metal companion will destroy herself to save us. Not just destroy, Arya explained. I will create a quantum virus, a pattern of information, that will confuse the Void Feeder's energy absorption abilities. It will be like feeding a computer program to a creature that only knows how to eat electricity. But we need a way to deliver it, Sarah said. The creature has to actually try to absorb Arya's energy. Elder Thane, who had been listening, stepped forward. The ancient texts speak of a ritual called the Great Offering. It was used to communicate with energy beings. If we perform this ritual, the creature will be drawn to feed on the largest energy source, which will be me, Arya said simply. The Nexar was the most frantic of Sarah's life, while Kithari warriors held off the smaller Void Feeders in the streets below. She worked with the elders to prepare the ancient ritual. They had to modify it to work with human technology, combining Kithari's spiritual practices with artificial intelligence. Queen Vexstar personally led the defense of the palace, buying them precious time. Sarah could hear the sounds of battle getting closer and closer. Ready, Captain, Arya finally announced. She had positioned herself in the center of the ritual circle, her holographic form glowing brighter than ever before. The giant Void Feeder was now directly above the palace. Its dark tentacles reached down toward the building, searching for energy to consume. Begin the ritual, Elder Thane commanded. The Kithari elders began chanting in their ancient language, while Sarah operated the human technology that would boost Arya's signal. The AI began to pulse with incredible energy, drawing the attention of the massive creature above. It's working, Queen Vexstar said as she returned from the battle. The creature is focusing on us. The Void Feeder's main body descended toward the palace like a living storm cloud. Energy tentacles wrapped around the building, searching for the source of the bright signal. Arya, Sarah said, tears in her eyes, thank you for everything. Thank you for showing me what friendship means. Captain, take care of yourself. The Void Feeder found Arya's energy signature and began to feed. At first, it seemed to grow stronger, absorbing her power like all the others. But then something went wrong with its feeding process. Arya had embedded her quantum virus deep in her own energy patterns. As the creature absorbed her, it also absorbed the virus. Chaotic, unpredictable human thinking patterns that its simple energy-based mind couldn't process. The giant Void Feeder began to convulse. Its dark form flickered and sparked as the virus spread through its consciousness. It tried to stop feeding, but it was too late. The human-style chaos in Arya's programming was spreading to all its absorbed energy. It's working, Elder Thane whispered in amazement. The creature's form began to break apart. All the energy it had stolen over the years started pouring out in random directions. Streetlights flickered back to life. Power returned to the defense systems. With a sound like thunder, the giant Void Feeder exploded into harmless light that scattered across the sky like fireworks. The smaller creatures, suddenly leaderless and confused, began to retreat back into space. Sarah watched Arya's hologram flicker one last time and disappear forever. The silence in the room was broken only by distant cheers from the Kithari people, celebrating their victory. She saved us all, Queen Vexstar said quietly. Your metal companion had more courage than most warriors I have known. Over the next few days, Sarah helped the Kithari repair their city and improve their defenses. She taught them human engineering techniques and showed them how to build weapons that could work against energy-based enemies. But more importantly, she taught them about human values, the importance of individual choice, creative thinking, and cooperation between different species. Your people think in ways that save worlds, Queen Vexstar told her as they stood on the palace balcony, watching the city rebuild. The Kithari will never forget this debt. It's not about debt, Sarah replied. It's about friendship. A week later, Sarah's rescue signal finally reached human space. A fleet of ships arrived to find not a disaster, but a celebration. Sarah had established the first formal alliance between humanity and the Kithari. As she prepared to leave Kithara Prime, Queen Vexstar made her a final offer. Stay with us, Sarah Chen. Help us learn more about human ways. In return, we will share our knowledge of this galaxy. Sarah considered it. She had grown to love these fierce but honorable people. But she had her own people to return to and new worlds to explore. I have a better idea, she said. Let's create an exchange program. Humans can come here to learn about Kithari culture, and your people can visit Earth to learn about ours. Queen Vextara smiled, showing her sharp teeth, in a way that was now friendly rather than frightening. An excellent idea. And Sarah Chen, you will always have a home here among the Kithari. As Sarah's ship lifted off from the forest world, she looked back at the great tree city one last time. She had lost Arya, but she had gained something else. Proof that different species could work together to overcome any challenge. In her ship's computer, she began writing her report. The title was simple: First Contact Protocol, How to Make Friends with a Beast Queen. She knew Arya would have liked that title. Her AI companion's sacrifice had opened the door to a new era of cooperation between species. And that, Sarah thought, was the most human thing of all, turning loss into hope and fear into friendship. The stars ahead looked brighter than they ever had before.